Hi. Hi, Melissa. How are
Hi,
you?
Christina. I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Yes, thanks for being here. So, if you are joining us today, I'm Christina. As you know, I am all things health and wellness education. And today I have my friend Melissa Carvalho, who is a life purpose and career coach. And she's going to, kind of explain a little bit of how she got to where she is today and, how we can also look towards that similar path to kind of getting us unstuck and to where we really want to live our lives.
Yeah. So, hello. Thank you for that introduction. Um, so my background basically started with HR and recruiting. I started getting to that and I learned how to hire people and how to, onboard people and all of that. And that eventually led me into career development. And career development is all about kind of figuring out how do I get myself unstuck? How do I get from point A to point B? And what I came to realize is there's a whole neat niche in this called career coaching. And it actually all started when my friend Shayna reached out to me and said, "Hey, Melissa, can you edit my Psychology Today profile where she could get up there as a career coach?" And that just gave me the idea. Oh, maybe I should try that. I hung my shingle, I gave it a try, and all of a sudden I started getting clients, and I realized how extremely rewarding this was being a career coach. And it eventually evolved into life purpose coaching, where I can get even deeper than what am I going to do with the career? What is my true purpose in life? And that can look very different for different people.
Absolutely. And the way you kind of described it as getting unstuck, I feel like, and we had this in conversation as well. There's so many of us out there right now that are just feeling so stuck and don't necessarily know how we can get ourselves unstuck, how we can get ourselves moving in the direction that we're just feeling better about the way that we're living our lives. We're getting up every day and we're not dreading what we have to do. We're not kind of wishing our time away because we're feeling like we are living the way we're supposed to be doing, living the way we're supposed to be living, essentially. So how would you say, or how would you describe that you kind of, this is kind of how you fell into the path of being a career and life purpose coach, but
Yeah.
how would you say that you kind of felt like you got to that realization of your own life purpose? Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, for me, my catalyst was I decided to hire my own life coach actually. And at one point she said her name's Coral Brown. You can look her up. She's actually kind of a big deal in the yoga world too, which is cool. And she said to me, Melissa, why don't you write a life purpose statement? And you can Google this, you can look up like Coral Brown writing a life purpose statement. And basically it has you think about what your values are and eventually ties into what my ultimate purpose is. And doing that for myself made me realize how important that was. And for everyone, it can look very different. For some people, their life purpose might be to make people laugh or to raise a family, or maybe it's something even bigger than that. Like for myself, a big part of my life purpose is to help people connect like with mind, body, and spirit and to actually live their purpose, which is kind of ironic. So, kind of going through that process of writing a life purpose statement really helped me. And again, if you want to do that, you can even just Google, Coral Brown writing a life purpose statement. That's how I got hooked on the whole thing.
And that's amazing. I think that's definitely a significant exercise and something that so many people really would benefit from doing because, talking about values, like I always go back to what are my core values? What are those things that are incredibly important to me, most important to me? And is what I'm doing now helping me live out those values?
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing each day really aligning with what my core values are?
And it's kind of like a filter, like whenever we have to make a choice in life, am I going to take this on? Am I going to do this project? Am I going to take this job? Do I want to date this person? Whatever it might be, it's kind of like a filter, like what is important to me. And if
Mhm.
it's not there as my life purpose, well, maybe I need to draw my attention to the stuff that is.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So what would you say is the purpose of life coaching? Like, you know,
Yeah.
what is it like to get started and what does that look like when you start going into the process?
Yeah, definitely. So life coaching is kind of like um it's like being a therapist, but without the therapy part. It's more goal orientated. So I think a lot of what I do is kind of working on what eventually do you want to figure out. And for some people, it might be I want to come up with a different, different career options, or I want to show up as my more authentic self, whatever it might be. But really, life purpose is about understanding like our special mission and clarity on why we're here. So I think, does that kind of answer the question a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what might that look like for someone getting started, right? Because so I know that a lot of people think like, oh, what am I going to have to do when I get started? Like how am I going to clarify these things, that are important to me?
Absolutely. So it actually starts out with a lot of it's kind of like a lot of questioning. I have a lot of kind of special questions that I'll ask to kind of get at it. And it really comes down to three different things. The first one is passion. So what are the things that just kind of light you up that you absolutely love doing, right? Like if you could do something for free and it didn't matter what it was, what would that be? Those are your passions. The next one is your values. Like what causes mean a lot to you? Or how are you showing up in your life, right? Is it love? Is it faith? Is it trust? There's integrity, right? There's so many different values. Which ones mean the most to you? And the last one is your strengths. I really believe that we are all born with different strengths. And when we see what that is, like things that just come natural to us, like if you had to give a TED talk on the spot, what would it be on? What do you just know
Love
so
that.
well? It's really looking at those three things. And then the last thing I like to look at is even telling our own life story. Like many of us haven't done that. Like if I were to say to you, really think about your life story, like it's right, like you're writing a book or you're writing a movie. What is the theme and what is it ultimately leading to? That can be really eye-opening for people too. So that's kind of my techniques there.
Yeah. Um, Definitely eye-opening. I can see how that would be absolutely eye-opening.
Yep.
Kind of putting the pieces all together when we think about our overall wellness. How do you feel that, like what you do and how you work with your clients, that this kind of fits into the puzzle of elevating your overall wellness?
Wow, I really feel that's such a big question. And I really feel like, the ultimate reason we're here. No, we're all born into this world, and some of us are drawn to have a purpose, and some of us just kind of coast by. But I really believe deep, deep down, if people are living their fully actualized life, you need to find that sense of purpose. And again, it can be something so simple like my purpose is to raise my children and love my children, or to bring a little bit of peace or humor to the day, whatever it might be. But I feel like that's just going to make kind of take our life from just being like status quo to I'm thriving. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive, and we want to feel like we feel like we have more value when we give to others. And living your purpose is kind of a way to giving to others.
Right. Yeah. And it's so
Yep.
true. And if you know sort of what that feels like, right? I just want to be, I want to raise my children and that is my life purpose, or this is what I understand to be like the most meaningful piece of my life. It kind of helps you approach your life in a different way, right?
Right.
And so when so many of us are living our lives like, feeling stuck or feeling underfulfilled or feeling overwhelmed, and how much stress that adds to your mind and your body and, and your
Mm,
relationships. And when you just have a clearer idea, right? You have a clearer
absolutely.
idea of what you want to do and what is meaningful and what makes you feel good, it kind of alleviates a lot of the other stuff.
Absolutely. And can I jump in? I just had another
Yeah.
thought too that you made me
Right.
think of. It's a very holistic, it's actually a very holistic process. Like for example, I actually had a client where she was very stuck, couldn't get anywhere. And one day she said something to me that really stuck out. She's like, I just have no motivation to work out. I haven't worked out in so long. If I could just work out, I think things would start flowing. And that was a big aha moment for me where I realized this person cannot get to her career goal and live her life purpose because she needed to move. She needed to get out of her head and get in her body. So her homework was you got to join a gym, find a friend to go with you and do it. And all of a sudden she flourished. So that made me realize it made me approach my career coaching in a completely different way where it's not just about talking about your career. It's, well, are you sleeping well? Do you have supportive relationships in your family? Are you eating well? Are you doing things that bring you joy? Um, sometimes we have to do all that stuff first before we can sit down and say, let's talk about purpose. We almost need those other pieces first. It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like we need to start with the basic needs before we get to purpose is kind of like up here, right?
Right.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that makes so much sense. So much sense. So, what would you say that just, anyone at home that's watching this that feels like, oh, okay, I'm motivated to do this, or let me think a little bit more about this. What is something, maybe like one little activity or one little shift that people can make at home or think about, on their own?
Yeah. So a couple different things I would just kind of reflect on even your passions. Just getting a journal is a great practice. So maybe getting a journal out and say, when am I in flow? When do I lose track of time? What could I do for forever? When do I feel that spark, right? These are just some prompts to kind of start journaling on. And then thinking about your values. What social causes are you passionate about? What would you advocate for? What would you fight for? How do you want to live your life? It's how you show up.
Mhm.
And the third thing is just journaling about your strengths, right? What comes natural to you? What is your superpower? If you had to give a TED talk on the spot, what would it be on? What is something special that you have for yourself? So I would say even just getting quiet and journaling on those things, that would be a great start. Or if you wanted to, even just going to my website, melissam.carvalho.com, I've got some blogs that you can look at to kind of get some prompts going. Um, so that might be a start as well. But
Mhm.
I think the first thing is saying to myself, I want to get in touch with my purpose. In order to do that, we have to get in touch with who we are. And sometimes we need quiet to be able to do that. So if you need to take a walk, you need to get out of your head and in your body by exercising. I think that's really important too.
Melissa, I love that. I love that. And it can be the quiet can be so powerful, so much more powerful than the extra activity that sometimes we think is going to be, the piece that we're missing. So thank you so much, Melissa. Melissa has some really amazing resources on her website as well, and a little starter pack that you can download and take a look at for kind of getting you there. And I also really liked the tip you gave us about Googling the life purpose and helping us write our life purpose statement. I think that is something that would be so powerful and so important for people to get into for a practice. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up, Melissa?
Um, I would just like to leave with one more little thing. I don't know if you guys have seen there's a Disney movie called Cold Soul, Soul, which is really cool. And in that movie, they kind of talk about like life isn't what we do, it's how we show up. Which I thought was like really powerful. A really powerful statement. So I think sometimes our purpose, again, it isn't what we do. It's not what our career is. It's not that, I'm a teacher, a counselor, a doctor, or whatever it might be. It's how we show up. So your purpose is I'm showing up as a warm, caring individual, or I'm showing up where I want health. I want to help people be aware of being more healthy. It's how we show up. Again, it's not like a profession that we put on our LinkedIn profile. So I just want to leave with that.
I love that. And that was probably the most important. It took me so long to get there. It is not what we do, but
Mm,
it is how we show up.
hmm.
Thank you so
Yep.
much, Melissa. This was so wonderful. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have found something to resonate with you tonight. So
Good.
thank you.
And good luck, everyone.